All right, I'll make this as quick as I can, but we do have to go back a couple days before the event just to get the full story here. So, two things, a piece of background info that you kind of need to know to make the whole thing make sense. Number one, I was traveling to Louisville, Kentucky, in the days directly leading up to the sporting event, which was Saturday. So I was in Louisville, like what would have been Tuesday to Thursday of that week. And then the other thing that you need to know is my buddy and friend of the podcast, Stephen Baker, was planning on meeting us in Raleigh. He happened to have to coach a Baltimore Stars youth hockey tournament in Raleigh that weekend, and we just happened to have an extra ticket. So, like months ago, I told him he could have that extra ticket, and he'd be meeting up with us, sitting with me and the rest of the family at the game. So, those are the two pieces of info you need. Now that you know them, here's the story. I'm in Louisville. Doesn't really matter what I was doing there. It's not that important. Point is,
it was pretty cool though.
It was kind of cool. I saw a lot of like tractors and stuff. We'll just leave it at that. But anyway, I'm supposed to leave. So basically my plan was Thursday morning. I'm supposed to leave Louisville. We drove there, by the way, which is about a 6-hour drive from Milwaukee. So Thursday morning, I'm supposed to drive from Louisville to Milwaukee. And then Thursday night at like 6 p.m., I'm supposed to get on a flight from Milwaukee to Boston, and then from Boston to Raleigh, which was supposed to get me into Raleigh like Thursday night at like midnight or something like that. And then Friday, the rest of my family would get there, and then we would have a whole weekend in Raleigh and see the game on Saturday. That was the plan. That's not what happened. So I leave Thursday morning from Louisville, crack of dawn. I'm talking, it's like 5:50, and I'm in the car ready to go. I'm gassed up. I've got coffee and I'm ready to go. I'm just going to try to get home as quick as I can. So I at least have a couple hours of downtime and to like unpack my Louisville bag, repack a Raleigh bag, and get to the airport in plenty of time. The first wrench in the plan is that there's a huge rainstorm in Kentucky, like over like basically the whole fucking state, it seems to me. And so I'm leaving at 6 a.m. It's pitch black. I can't see shit even just because it's dark out. And it is raining harder than I've ever like seen in my life before. Like I'm on the highest wiper setting and I'm like, does this go any further? Because it's not good enough. And so I literally can't see shit. I'm just like kind of like it's bad when I'm looking at my phone's GPS to see where the road goes.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm
God.
like that. I'm like, oh, there's a turn coming up. Thank you, iPhone.
I'm
like,
gonna guess. Let's hope it goes well.
Yeah, I think it's like right here. I'm going like 15 miles an hour on the highway. Like it was bad and it stayed dark. I was like, is the sun ever gonna rise? Like it stayed dark for like an hour and a half because I'm gaining an hour, right? Going back into Milwaukee. So it's like I'm going back in time basically. So it stays like, yeah,
Literally.
That was a mess. Not to mention that day, there was also a massive snowstorm coming into Wisconsin.
Oh my
So I drove out of the rainstorm and into the snowstorm. The whole drive was fucking awful. But we made it, right? Okay. So I get there, I get to Milwaukee. I actually made pretty decent timing, all things considered. I had enough time to repack my bag, get situated. May or may not have actually had time to consume a margarita then as well.
Much needed.
Which I definitely earned after a drive like that. And I'm checking my phone the whole day. Like, is this freaking flight going to get canceled? If it is, I wish they would just tell me now. Cause the worst thing that would happen is like go to the airport and then it gets canceled. Right. And they're just saying like, nope. It's radio silence. Keep in mind, this is JetBlue flight. Fuck you, JetBlue.
Yeah,
Never,
big time.
Never again.
Yep.
Get to the airport. I'm going with my girlfriend. So her and I get to the airport. Right when we get to the airport, they're like, your flight's delayed 20 minutes. We're like, okay. Then like within like 5 minute span, oh, now it's delayed an hour. And now I'm like, well, that's going to be a problem because like I said before, we're flying into Boston and then Boston to Raleigh. And we already only had like 20 minutes to make that connecting flight. So I'm like, well, now we're not making that flight out of Boston to Raleigh tonight. So go and talk to JetBlue. They're like, there's no flights out of Boston tonight that go to Raleigh, blah, blah, blah. We go back and forth. We decide that what's going to happen now is they're like, this flight, they told me it has nothing to do with the weather. but the JetBlue flight is stuck at JFK. The flight that you're supposed to get on is stuck at JFK in New York because it has like plane malfunctions. And I'm like, okay,
Plane
sure.
sickness. Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
They
And
need
I'm
the plane
like,
doctor.
but they're like, but it's gonna take off tonight. It just might not. It might be like a while, but you'll get on the flight tonight. That's what they tell me. I'm like, okay. So they're like, you're flying to Boston tonight. Just get on that flight. And then they rebooked me on a flight from Boston to Raleigh, like first thing the next morning. I had texted with a buddy I was going to stay with in Boston. He lives right near the airport. So I was like, all right, not the end of the world, whatever. I'll still probably get there earlier than my family the next day. The only bummer there was we already paid for the hotel for Thursday night. So I was like, all right, well, shitty, but what are you going to do? So now we're at the airport way early because who knows when this fucking flight is coming. So Julia and I, we go, we sit down. I get a big ass Miller Lite. I'm almost done with the first one, about to order a second one. And then I get a call, like an 800 number call. And I'm like, I know exactly what this is. It's a recording from JetBlue. And they're like, your flight's just canceled now.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, well, good. So
at any point, did you try and use the JetBlue app?
No, I didn't even
bother. Because it just takes you to your own web browser. It's horrible.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's excellent. So I go to the JetBlue stand, and now I really feel like Ryan Whitney because there's like a massive line at the JetBlue thing of a bunch of people from Boston, mostly because most of them were trying to like actually fly to Boston, and they're all like, "Whoa, what the fuck? Like, what are you gonna do? I need to get to Boston tonight." Like, and this one guy is talking to me. He's like, this sucks, man. We're not going to get, he's like, you and me, we're not going to get to Boston until like tomorrow now. And I'm like, I'm not going to Boston. I don't give a fuck about
There is no we here.
Literally, I'm just like, okay, shut up. So like, anyway, rewind maybe like 20, 30 minutes while I'm drinking this beer. Stephen Baker's texting me because he knew about my whole nightmare travel day. And he's like, just checking in. He's like, I know about the weather and everything. He's like, did your flight take off? Whatever. So I had updated him being like, yeah, it's like not the best, but I'm sleeping in Boston tonight and then like going to fly to Raleigh in the morning. And he said something like that, or something along the lines of like, well, it seems like you got it figured out, but if for some reason it'd be helpful, I'm driving from Baltimore to Raleigh tomorrow at like 9 a.m. So, I mean, if last ditch effort, you needed to like fly to Baltimore or something, that could work. And I literally said to him, I was like, oh, word. Yeah, I don't think that'll be necessary, but I appreciate it. So now I'm in the fucking JetBlue line. I'm on my phone. I'm looking up flights out of Chicago. I'm looking on other airlines. I'm looking at Milwaukee. There's like nothing. Like this fucking Raleigh airport, apparently just no one flies there. Like there's like 2 flights a day that go to Raleigh.
Charlotte.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm fucked. And now I'm like thinking about this text he sent me, and I'm like, hold up. I look, Milwaukee to Baltimore, Southwest flight. It's like the cheapest one out of anything. First thing in the morning, it leaves at like 5 a.m. and it says it's going to land in Baltimore at 8:30. Steven's like, I have to leave at 9 at the latest. And I'm like, I'm sending it. Fuck it. Like, fuck it. We're doing it. So we buy the flight. JetBlue like reimbursed us for the whole thing or whatever, as they should. So that was fine, I guess. And yeah, that's what I did. I flew into fucking Baltimore, and then Steven picked me and Julia up, and then we drove 6 hours after I had just driven 6 hours from Louisville the day before. Drove 6 hours from Baltimore to Raleigh, and we made it. And you know, had a great weekend, hung out with the family. Game sucked. The Caps are fucking awful. One of the worst hockey teams I've ever seen in my life. But positive note, the arena was sweet. I mean, ice looked awesome, really cool experience. Fans around me were mostly pretty nice, didn't have problems. Good view, good seats. It's a special event. It was fun to be there. And I gotta give big shout out to my dad and the rest of my family for kind of helping me make that work and helping me pivot when shit hit the fan with the flights and the weather and all that stuff. So definitely a nightmarish couple of travel days there, but you know, all in all, still feel pretty lucky, pretty blessed to have gone to an event like that. So that's pretty much the end of the story there.
It is a sick stadium, especially like for college football too. That place gets rocking.
Mm-hmm.
How are the Caniacs? Cool. Like, what's all that all about? I feel like Hurricanes fans, no one really.
I mean, they're stupid and they suck. We all know
they were kind of idiotic. Like they said a lot of stuff during the game that I'm just like, that doesn't even make sense. Have you ever watched a hockey game? Maybe not. But I mean, no one was like rude to me at least. So I appreciate that.
Southern kind, something like that.